According to legend, doppelgangers, German for double walker, are paranormal duplicates of a real person. They can manifest in a number of ways, and you can see them out the corner of your eye, meet them on a lonely road somewhere, or chillingly see them standing behind you when looking in a mirror. Sometimes the doppelganger can't be seen by the person at all, but instead manifests to other people in a completely different location. It may even cooperate with the person, help them with tasks, or act as a surrogate body of sorts. There are many explanations for the doppelganger phenomenon. Mystics throughout the ages have believed that they are supernatural creatures, either spiritual copies of the person or downright demonic twins. Meanwhile, scientists say they are just electrical glitches of the brain or mental illnesses such as schizophrenia. Only two things are certain about these eerie apparitions. They are often bad news, and a surprising number of significant historical figures have claimed to be haunted by them. So let's take a look at these historical figures that have actually been haunted by them. Wolfgang von Goethe. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, 1749 to 1832, was a famous German writer, poet, and politician. A celebrated author who played a large part in shaping the field of literature, his words were widely read and respected. One day, a depressed Goethe was riding on a footpath after leaving a girl named Friederike. Suddenly he faced a mysterious person riding towards him. The person who Goethe said he saw was with the mind's eye instead of his actual eyes, was clearly Goethe himself, although he was wearing different clothes. The figure soon disappeared, and Goethe, who found its appearance strangely soothing, soon forgot all about it. 8 years later, he found himself riding down the same footpath in the opposite direction to see Friederike again. That's when he realised he was wearing the exact same clothes his doppelganger wore years ago. This was not the only doppelganger Goethe saw. Another time he saw his friend Friederike walking on the street wearing Goethe's own dressing gown. Puzzled, Goethe went home, only to find Friederike there, wearing the same gown Goethe had seen on the apparition. His friend had been surprised by the rain and borrowed the gown as his clothes dried. 9. Catherine the Great. Catherine the Great, the powerful 18th century Empress of Russia, was a powerful and dangerous figure. She was not fazed by small matters such as seeing her own ghostly doppelganger take over her throne. It is said that one night Catherine was lying in her bed when worried servants told her that they'd just seen her enter the throne room. When Catherine set out to investigate, she found her doppelganger sitting calmly on the throne. Catherine immediately ordered her sentries to shoot at her ghostly counterpart. The stories don't tell whether the bullet had any effect on the spectral empress. However, Catherine herself died soon afterwards. Percy Bysshe Shelley. Percy Bysshe Shelley was a brilliant poet in his own right. Although he is mainly remembered as the husband of Mary Shelley, the author of Frankenstein, although one would assume that Mary, the horror writer, would have been the one to see ghosts and monsters. It was, in fact, Percy who witnessed doppelgangers. Shortly before Percy drowned in a sailing accident in 1812, he confessed to Mary that he had met his doppelganger many times. These confrontations included one particularly haunting experience where he walked onto a terrace, only to be greeted by his doppelganger, who asked him, "How long do you mean to be content?" Strangely, Percy's doppelganger was also witnessed by her close friend Jane Williams, who saw it pass in her window on a route frequently walked by the real Percy, to a dead end but never returning. The real Percy was nowhere near. Sir Frederick Carn Rash. In 1906, the British Parliament member Sir Gilbert Parker was attending a debate when he spotted Sir Frederick Carn Rash, a fellow Parliament member sitting nearby. This greatly surprised Sir Gilbert, as Sir Frederick was severely ill with influenza at the time. Still, he politely greeted Sir Frederick and told him, "I hope you're feeling better." Carn Rash didn't react in any way. He just sat there with a stony, grim expression on his face. When Sir Gilbert soon glanced at his friend again, the seat was completely empty. Bewildered, he searched for Carn Rash in the lobby, only to find that no one had seen him pass by. When he discussed the event with fellow parliamentarians, it turned out others had seen Carn Rash too. When the real Carn Rash, who had been sick in bed all along, found out about the incident, he was quite unsurprised. He had really wanted to take part in the debate, so to him it made sense that his spirit had sneaked a peek. His family, however, were terrified and feared the doppelganger was a bad sign. In a small way they were right. For quite some time Carn Rash was annoyed by fellow Parliament members who kept poking him with their fingers to make sure he was flesh and blood. In the end, he had to write a massively sarcastic letter to a local newspaper, apologising that he didn't have the good sense to die at the time of the doppelganger sighting, and promising to behave better next time. Queen Elizabeth I. Queen Elizabeth I of England, who reigned from 1558 to 1603, was the last Tudor to rule the country. Widely recognised as a charismatic, level-headed and savvy monarch, she was the kind of person who wouldn't expect to dabble with the paranormal, which makes it all the more scary when she claimed she had witnessed her doppelganger. According to the Queen, the spectral Elizabeth was lying motionless on a bed, almost like a corpse laid out for presentation. The experience was particularly haunting because such appearances are said to be a certain sign of death. Still, it would be easy to put this down as a temporary glitch in the mind of an elderly, stressed-out ruler, if it wasn't for the fact that Elizabeth died soon after seeing the doppelganger. Maria de Jesus de Agreda. Although doppelgangers are generally perceived as sinister, it is said that sometimes a person is not only able to control them, but use them as a sort of second body that billocate to other places in an instant. In the 17th century, explorers and missionaries to the New World were astonished to find that many of the tribes in New Mexico were already merrily practicing Catholicism. When questioned, the tribesmen said that they had been converted by a mysterious lady in blue who had taught them and even given them a number of crucifixes and other items of worship. With careful detective work, a few priests finally traced the phenomenon to Maria de Agreda, a young blue-robed Spanish nun. She claimed to have taught Christianity to the Indians by bilocating across the ocean. Mary had never left her convent and only knew the place she had been as a savage land, but her story was enough to convince the priests. Initially, the Inquisition was extremely suspicious of Maria, but they decided to acquit her of witchcraft charges, possibly because her story was just too good to waste. Her power was declared to be of divine origin. She became an international celebrity, the leader of her convent, and an author of rambling books on how she acquired her powers. However, later in life she changed her story multiple times. Sometimes she claimed she was pressured to say that she could habitually cast her spiritual copy to another continent. Sometimes she said it was true after all. Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was known as Honest Abe, and as such was very open about his interest in the paranormal, at least in private discussions. According to the man himself, he also experienced some paranormal activity. On the night of his first election, he took a moment to rest on his couch one evening. While lying there, he happened to glance in the mirror and saw his own visage, except that he had two faces. The second Lincoln, pale and ghostly, was looking at him from the mirror, right next to his own face. Startled, he rose from the couch, and the doppelganger disappeared. He sat back down only to see it again. Lincoln was startled, but his wife Mary was downright terrified. She was convinced that the doppelganger was bad news, a certain sign that Lincoln would be re-elected on a second term, possibly because two Lincolns equals 2 terms, but wouldn't survive it because the second Lincoln looked deathly. Lincoln went on to repeat the couch experiment every once in a while. He did manage to glimpse the doppelganger one more time, but after that it stopped appearing. Maybe it had delivered its message, as Lincoln indeed didn't make it through the second term. Or, maybe someone just fixed the mirror. George Tryon. June 22nd, 1893 was not a good day for Vice Admiral George Tryon. He was commanding 2 columns of ships off the coast of Syria when he gave a command for the columns to turn towards each other. This attempt at the majestic naval drill maneuver turned out to be an amateur mistake, as the first ships promptly rammed into each other. And one of them, the one Tryon appeared to be in, sank like a stone. Tryon died knowing that he had just doomed 357 men to drown. His last words were fittingly and heartbreakingly, "It's entirely my fault." At the exact same time, Tryon's wife was holding a lavish party for their friends in their London home. Suddenly, to the guests' surprise, Tryon appeared at the party. Silently, he walked down the staircase, solemnly proceeded through the drawing room, and opened the door as if to leave, before he suddenly disappeared. He was dressed in full uniform, as if he was commanding a drill. There are some holes in the story. For instance, some say Lady Tryon was busy with the guests and never saw this doppelganger, while others claim she was one of the onlookers. Still, the tale bears an eerie resemblance to old sea tales of a sailor's fetch, another name for a spirit doppelganger, alerting his family upon his death. Guy de Maupassant. French writer Guy de Maupassant is known for what is perhaps the most intimate doppelganger experience on record. Towards the end of his life, he is said to have regularly interacted with his doppelganger. This eerie twin not only talked to him, but actually sat down and started dictating a short story to him. Yes, de Maupassant claimed that one of his last stories was literally ghost-written. Yes, de Maupassant claimed that one of his stories was literally ghost-written by his own ghost, no less. If that's not chilling enough, don't worry, it gets even better. The story the spirit allegedly dictated to de Maupassant was the Hola, an unnerving tale of a man whose sanity is slowly consumed by an evil spirit that uses him as a host. As if echoing the story, de Maupassant's mental health started deteriorating soon after finishing it. In another version of the events, the doppelganger did not dictate the book, as it disappeared when the then terrified de Maupassant called his servant. However, the apparition returned a few months later. It entered the writer's room looking at him with a sad expression. Then it sat down and buried its face in its hands as if in despair. Convinced that the doppelganger brought news of disaster, the horrified de Sands' life was downhill from there. He died in an insane asylum a year later. Emil Sadji. Emil Sadji never saw her doppelganger. Everyone else did, though. Sadji worked in an exclusive girls' school. She was a very good teacher, but for some reason she kept moving from one job to another. In 16 years she had changed positions an impressive 19 times. In 1845 the school found out why. Sadji was allegedly the centre of some very strange doppelganger activity. The spectral twin was seen during a class as 13 students witnessed the doppelganger standing by Sadji's side, mirroring her movements. Next it stood behind her as she ate, pantomiming her movements. Sadji herself was completely oblivious to the apparition, despite the fact that everyone else could see it clearly. However, she did become strangely groggy and powerless during the times the doppelganger manifested, and the wraith was often seen doing things Sadji later said she had been thinking about at the moment, suggesting that she may have had some subliminal control over it. Soon the doppelganger ventured beyond Sadji's immediate vicinity. At first it appeared to a classroom full of students sitting calmly in the teacher's chair, while Sadji herself was outside working in the garden. Few people who dared to approach the doppelganger found that they could pass through it, yet it had a texture that reminded them of thick fabric. Time went by and the apparition became a permanent fixture of the school's life, freaking people out on a regular basis. The girls' concerned parents started removing their children from the school. Although Sadji was a model employee, on all non-paranormal accounts, the headmistress had no option but to fire her and her ghostly double. So, are they really doppelgangers, or is it just a creepy urban legend? You're not likely to believe it if you've never had experienced one. Whether Alex really has one is just speculation, and how the story is interpreted. The story rings true, but Alex is probably not in any danger, and there's no solid proof of doppelgangers or of someone meeting their demise after seeing their own. Regardless, the legend lives on. What I read there at the end was an urban legend of someone by the name of Alex, who had told the story and was published, called The Cemetery Mimic. I have that here. So this is the story of the Cemetery Mimic. People who can't afford to pay funerary services often bury their loved ones here. In Mexico, there's no such thing as medical aid for low-income workers. People that come from out of town are not used to the ever-changing weather, and as a consequence, many children die in the winter and end up buried in the old cemetery. When I was about 10 years old, 4 older friends and I decided to check it out. We walked for hours, and when we finally arrived, it was almost dark. We started walking around and nothing seemed out of place. The air was getting very heavy, and we heard a strange noise from an old rotted tree. As we got near it, the tree started shaking. We all got really scared and ran. Later on we found out that it was one of our friends playing a prank on us. We were laughing when suddenly the old gravekeeper showed up. He said, "Boys, I know you're all just here to have some fun and fool around, but please understand that horrible things happen here. I live in that house over there about 100 feet from the cemetery, and every night those high school punks come and drink and make their mess, and weird things begin to happen. Last time there were loud voices and someone knocking at my door at 2 a.m. I thought it was those punks, but no one was there. I'm very tired and I would really like to sleep tonight, so if you have no business here, please leave. We felt bad for the poor old guy and left. We never returned to that place until I was 17. I was with a high school punk friends in a truck. We were looking for the old cemetery. After 10 years, the place had really changed and we were having trouble finding it. The trail was wet and muddy, and there were so many of us that the truck got stuck in the mud. When we got out of the truck, we soon found out that we were inside the cemetery. My friend left the truck in neutral so we could push it, when suddenly the truck began moving by itself. After we saw that, we were so scared that we just got in the truck and drove off. When we finally decided to stop, we noticed that the truck was marked with tiny foot and handprints all over. Then the gravekeeper showed up and said, "I remember you. And you don't understand what's going on, do you? The spirits will chase you for a long time." I really didn't pay much attention to what he said, till I later learned that there hadn't been any gravekeepers there for years. I got really freaked out when my friends started telling me that I looked different. They said that they would run into me and I would have a disturbing, evil look in my eyes. The weird part is that I was never even at the place and time that they told me they saw me. One of my friends said he chased me all the way into the dead-end alley and that I would just disappear without a trace. Even my girlfriend said she sometimes saw me near a house dressed in black with a disturbing glare, when I was actually out somewhere drinking with someone else. My sister says that sometimes she hears me when I get home and watches me open the door and go into the living room with the light turned off. She would see me lay down on the sofa from across the hall, and suddenly I would begin ripping my clothes off like some wild animal. When she turned the lights on, there's no one there. Hours later, I would arrive home, leave my keys on the table and go to my room. All of this happens as if someone or something was imitating me like a mimic. So basically, a doppelganger is an exact replica of yourself. So if you do happen to see your own doppelganger, it will portend your own demise, and shortly after that you will die.